What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we got some interesting news as undefeated, rising Mexican superstar, welterweight title contender, 17-0, 17 wins by way of knockout. He is 23 years of age. He stands at 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. Last time we saw him in the ring was when he took on Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker. That was March of 2021. I'm talking about none other than Vergil Ortiz Jr. Vergil Ortiz Jr. So Vergil Ortiz Jr., he has now moved ahead of two-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Showtime Shawn Porter in the WBO ranking system. Now, Vergil Ortiz placed himself in position to be the number one mandatory challenger for undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. 37 wins, no losses, 28 wins by way of knockout. He's 33 years of age. He stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. Last time we saw him in the ring is when he took on former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer, Special K Kell Brook. That was November 14th, and he got a stoppage victory. With that stated, Shawn Porter, 31 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, 17 wins by way of knockout. He himself is 33 years of age. He stands at 5'7" with a 69.5-inch arm reach. And the last time we saw him in the ring was when he took on Sebastian Familia. That was August of 2020. He got a unanimous decision victory. With that said, everybody was clamoring to see Shawn Porter in the ring against Terence Crawford because Shawn Porter was the WBO number one mandatory challenger and the mandatory for Terence Crawford. And Shawn Porter, he was pursuing the fight with Terence Crawford. He stated that, he even went to social media and he stated to Terence Crawford, the fans are hungry for big fights. Let's feed them the big fights. Let's make it happen. And added Terence Crawford and added Top Rank legendary promoter and CEO, Bob Arum. With that stated, Terence Crawford, he responded. He says, "You're testing me now, so just stand by, and then I'll get back to you." Then Shawn Porter, he stated, I heard you coming back, possibly May 29th. I'll be ready. With that stated, Terence Crawford, his team said if Shawn Porter truly wanted to fight with us, then he would have activated his mandatory challenge. Well, now, I don't know what took place, what the business part of it is, but now Shawn Porter, according to the WBO, he didn't activate his mandatory position in time. And so they reversed the roles. For now, Shawn Porter is number 2, and now Vergil Ortiz Jr. has replaced him as the number one mandatory position challenger for Terence Crawford. Now we know Vergil Ortiz Jr., he just beat Terence Crawford's stablemate and longtime friend in former WBO junior welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Maurice Mighty Mo Hooker. With that stated, now we see that Vergil Ortiz and Terence Crawford, they did a little bit of back and forth at the fight with Maurice Hooker's fight after Vergil Ortiz defeated Maurice Hooker. And he stated that I'm going to defeat Maurice Hooker in front of Terence Crawford, and then I'm going to call out Terence Crawford. And that's exactly what he did after the fight. And so Terence Crawford, he says, Vergil Ortiz is not ready for what I'm bringing to the table. I don't believe he is either. But now it looks like the WBO, they think Vergil Ortiz is ready. But the misunderstanding here is what happened with Shawn Porter and why didn't he activate his position, and why isn't he in position to fight Terence Crawford if this is truly a fight that he wanted? Because this is a fight that the boxing world has long but wanted to see this fight, especially after the effort and the outing he put up against undefeated, unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer who's considered by many to be top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, in Errol the True Spence Jr. A lot of people, they expected Shawn Porter to get steamroll in that fight with Errol Spence, and that was anything but the case. Errol Spence was in a tough fight, probably the toughest fight of his career. Now he got a knockdown in the 11th round, and he clearly won the 12th round, which seemed to be the difference in the fight. But with that stated, that was a great fight. It was a fight of the year candidate fight, and since then, people wanted to see how Terence Crawford would fare with a guy in the style of a Shawn Porter, what Shawn Porter brings to the table, what adjustments would Terence Crawford make dealing with Shawn Porter, okay? And a lot of people, including Terence Crawford, they feel like he hasn't had that level of step-up opponent. A fight between Shawn Porter would be the biggest fight in Terence Crawford's career, okay? Shawn Porter would be favored amongst everybody on Terence Crawford's resume, except Kell Brook, obviously, because back in 2014, Kell Brook, he beat Shawn Porter for his IBF title, okay, here in the States. So he came to the States and beat Shawn Porter for his belt. So with that said, Shawn Porter has grown leaps and bounds since that loss to Kell Brook. He's adapted. He's made adjustments to his game, and he's a completely different fighter than that fighter he was back in 2014. So with that said, everybody wants to see how Shawn Porter is going to deal with Terence Crawford style, or dare I say, how Terence Crawford is going to deal with Shawn Porter style. So there's a lot of eagerness on the part of, the boxing world, boxing pundits. They just want to see how Terence Crawford is going to fare with the style of Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter tests you every second of every minute of every round, mentally and physically. He's going to push you to the brink. And this is a fight that the boxing world wants to see. Vergil Ortiz, he's very young at 22 years of age. 23 years of age. Vergil Ortiz, he has limitations, athletically. Now he has fast hands. He has powerful hands, power in both hands. He's very active in the ring. He's an action-packed fighter. But on the defensive end, he has limitations and he has slow feet. And that's the worst thing you can have dealing with a guy of the magnitude of Terence Crawford that can switch from southpaw to orthodox fluidly. He makes adjustments in the ring, and he too has power in both hands. And he has extremely long arms with a 74-inch arm reach, okay? So Vergil Ortiz is just too early in his career. Now, he has had a fight with Samuel Vargas. He's had a fight with Maurice Hooker, but Maurice Hooker, look at the fight. Maurice Hooker was having success. Now, Maurice Hooker suffered an injury in the fight, which saw him not unable to continue the fight. But you look at the fight, Maurice Hooker was having some success. And Maurice Hooker, no slight to Maurice Hooker, but he's not on the level of Terence Crawford. So with that stated, Terence Crawford, is a completely different, step up in competition for Vergil Ortiz at this point in his career. I'm of the mindset that if they made a fight between Vergil Ortiz Jr. and Terence Crawford, I believe that Terence Crawford could possibly derail Vergil Ortiz's career moving forward. I think it wouldn't be an experience loss. We saw when 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez, when he took on Floyd Mayweather, okay? Floyd, #1 pound for pound fighter in the world at the time, pound for pound king, pay-per-view king, 5-division world champion, undefeated. He was 36 years of age. He was seasoned, obviously, and Canelo was still 23, 24 years old, but he had 40-plus fights. And so everybody felt like he was ready. But when he got in the ring with Floyd Mayweather essentially took Canelo Alvarez to school, but it was a learning lesson for Canelo Alvarez. More so in this case with Vergil Ortiz Jr. and Terence Crawford, it's not going to be a boxing clinic. He stands more of a chance to go up against Errol Spence Jr. and receive a boxing lesson more so than he will against Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford is a closer. He's looking to finish you. The last 6 opponents, he stopped and knocked out his last 6 opponents, from Julius Indongo to Jeff Horn to Jose Benavidez Jr. to Amir Khan to Igor Kavalauskas to Kell Brook. Okay, so he's on the tear, stopping his opponents. That's not the case when you're dealing with Errol Spence or when Floyd Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez fought. It was a schooling, it was a boxing lesson. This could be a brutal knockout on the part of Terence Crawford knocking out Vergil Ortiz, and he's just simply not ready to deal with the magnitude of a fight, high-profile fight against Terence Crawford and the pressure that Terence Crawford is going to put on him, okay? Now, he does have a jab that may trouble Terence Crawford, but Terence Crawford has extremely long arms that could touch him, and Terence Crawford is so versatile. He can touch him from mid-range. He could fight him on in a phone booth, or he could fight him from the outside if he so chooses. And he could switch from southpaw to orthodox. Those are experiences, and the timing is the most needed thing for a guy like Vergil Ortiz, okay? And those are things that he hasn't experienced yet. So his first fight with Terence Crawford, who's a closer and looking to make a statement in a big fight, I think it would be a mistake on their part. But let's see how this plays out. So now Shawn Porter has missed out. And now the question is going to be raised, does Shawn Porter truly want to fight with Terence Crawford because he was in position to push for it? Now, some people are saying that if Shawn Porter would have pushed for the fight, he would have received a 75-25 split in favor of Terence Crawford, and he was unwilling to do so. So we got to see what happens, what news comes out. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share the videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Wow.